So, John, the time is now 5:31. I have you, Jeannie, and Jimmy Moore all showing up on the screen. Let's just wait for Mary Ann to come back. She's going to take the roll call. And we've got Bill, Letitia, and Jennifer all here. So we are ready to get started as soon as you're ready, Mary Ann. Mary Ann, ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Mr. Puryear, you can start the meeting if you'd like.
Is Mr. Moore present?
Jimmy, I see Jimmy's name on there.
I'm
Mr.
here.
Moore, he's here.
Oh,
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Mr. Moore. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to call the meeting will now come to order for the Gallatin Municipal Board of Zoning Appeals. And I guess first thing we'll do is invocation, okay? Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for many blessings. We just ask you, Father, anything that we do or say here tonight will be pleasing to you. Bless each one of us, Lord, and we just pray for this country with this virus going on, Lord. We just pray that we'll soon end. Be with us now. Forgive us of our sins. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, let's pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the roll call, if you would, Miss Mary Ann.
Chair Moore,
Here.
Vice Chair Schreiner, Mr. Puryear, Ms. Gregory.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. The first thing on the menu tonight, on the program tonight, is the election of a secretary to the Board of Zoning Appeals for the City of Gallatin, resolution number 2020-006. Is this something that we need to do tonight with just three of us here, or do we need to postpone this, or what, Josh? Can you hear me, Mary Ann?
I can hear you.
Do you think we need to elect one tonight, or what do you think we need to postpone this secretary, or?
I think that's probably your decision.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, that'd be the decision of the board to make. It might be a good idea to wait until you have at least four, and maybe even until another appointee is seated.
Okay.
I'm going to ask the board at this time, do y'all have anybody in mind you'd like to recommend to put on the board? John, you or Jeannie, either one?
oh, on the board. Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, we need another one. Of course, we're short. Mr. Malone has resigned or gone off the board, so we need to elect someone else. Think about this, and maybe by the next meeting that we have, maybe we can have a name or two, and we'll discuss it and try to get someone else on the board. Is that okay, Mr. McCord?
Well, the mayor would be the one who makes that decision, and
she's done call me and told me to find someone. So.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I guess that's what I need to do.
You know, Jimmy, if I haven't spoken to this person in quite some time, but about 6 or 8 months ago, somebody did approach me. So I'm happy to pass that name along to you. I don't know if you want me to do that now, if we just want to talk later.
Who is that name, Jenny, if you don't
Her
mind?
Her name is Eileen George.
Eileen George.
Eileen George. She's a
Okay.
realtor with RE/MAX and has been in this community for probably 40 years. I don't know. John, you probably know Eileen.
I would vouch for Eileen. She's very competent, very knowledgeable.
Okay. Now, how do I get a hold? I'd like to talk with her, Jeannie.
I actually may have her email address, and I'll try and get a phone
Okay.
number for you, Jimmy, and I'll pass it along.
That'd be fine, and we'll try to get all this together, and then by next meeting, we'll try to elect someone, okay?
Okay.
All right, the next thing on the menu tonight, no, I guess they need to have do we need to have to approve the minutes from the last meeting? It's not on here. We didn't need to do that. Bill, Mr. McCord, Josh?
Mr. Chairman, there is, because this meeting is being held digitally,
Yeah,
there is a statement that we're going to need you to read, and this board will have to choose to hold this meeting electronically.
Uh-huh.
Dustin, if you could change the slide to come up with a standard statement, please. Mr. Moore, if you could read the statement that's on the screen, and then we'll do a roll call vote of the 3 members that are present.
all righty. Pursuant to the governor's executive orders, number 16 and number 34, and the need to limit to the community spread of the COVID virus 19, members of the Planning Commission will participate by electronic means, and the meeting will be live streamed to protect the public's health, safety, and welfare of the members and citizens of Gallatin. We need to vote on that, you
And
said?
of course, it's the Board of Zoning Appeals and not the Planning Commission.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I will make a motion in favor of holding the meeting by electronic means.
All right, motion been made. You second, Jenny?
Second it, yes, sir.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So the meeting
Roll
is,
call. Do you want a roll call vote for that?
yeah,
Okay.
let's do that, Mary Ann.
Okay. Chair Moore,
Yes,
Mr. Pereira,
Aye.
Ms. Gregory,
Aye.
Mr. Shriner. Okay,
okay,
yes, passed. Mhm.
all righty. I guess we're next ready for the number 2. The next one on the menu tonight or on the schedule tonight is resolution number 2020-005, 1194 Blackshare Drive variance. Miss Vivian Huntsman, the owner and applicant request a variance of a 2-foot setback from the maximum height for a fence in the rear yard per sections 1201-020-C5A to allow an 8-foot tall fence in the rear yard and a variance and the unfinished side to face outward per section 1201-020-C.3 to allow a fence with the finished side facing inward on 2.2 plus acre lot. And it's on the tax map 125M Group B parcel zoned R40 low density residential district located at 1194 Blackshare Drive. Someone gonna give the report on that tonight? Some of the
I will.
staff?
I'll be giving the report, sir.
Okay, there you are.
Yes. This case was brought to the attention of the planning department with a zoning complaint in reference to the height of the fence. A couple of Ms. Huntsman's neighbors had called our office and stated that they thought the fence was not in compliance, that it was too tall, and that it was faced backwards. When we went to her house to do a site visit, it was apparent that the fence was too tall and it was facing the wrong way. And we sent a zoning violation letter to her, asking her to stop construction on the fence and call our office because we did not have a permit on file. Ms. Huntsman did call us and stated that she, did not know that she needed a permit. It was just an innocent mistake, so to speak. And she didn't realize that she had made an error in the construction of the fence. Ms. Huntsman has invested a lot of money into this fence and wanted to request this variance due to the fact that her property backs up to some commercial properties, Jean Carmen being one of them. And the property next to Jean Carmen is in the process of being rezoned commercial as well. However, because her property is so large, it spans 3 different lots. Jean Carmen being the one in the middle, the one on the very corner is going to be a residence. And that residence is not happy with the fence. While we've conducted within now and the time of the last meeting, we did some research on her property, and it was discovered that along the property boundary in the back of these houses and this line, there's an 8-foot sanitary sewer line, and that was not discovered at first. It was, during the last meeting, it was suggested that Ms. Huntsman possibly just donate that land, that 2 feet of land, to the properties that sit in front of her. However, with that easement right there, utilities would not be able to access it. She was advised of this, and she is here to speak on her behalf on what her wishes are as far as that. She said she needs some time to think about it, and I believe she's come back with some of her thoughts.
Okay, you giving a recommendation?
The city stance is still the same. The fence is still not in compliance. We're not recommending the variance. However, there is a new circumstance for you to consider, and that is this form that's up here right now. The discovery of the sewer septic system that's there. It would not be able to be placed on her line, even if it were 2 feet closer. I guess the distinguishing point is if it were on the line and the fence belonged to the commercial properties, 8 foot in height would be okay. With it being on her property, it would be required to be 6 feet tall. She's not going to be able to put it on the property line either way because there's a sewer system there now that we've discovered. So that's not really an option as far as moving it maybe to right where the property line is.
Okay. Of course, the bad thing is the fence is done up, correct?
Correct. It's already, it's not complete, but I believe it's very close to being completed.
Picture shows it's a whole lot of it up, maybe not every bit of it, but is Ms. Huntsman, are you on the line tonight?
Ms. Huntsman, if you or your representative could raise your hand from the list of attendees, I can, here we go. Your line has been unmuted. Your line has been unmuted. Maybe. Well. So Ms. Huntsman's representative is on the line, Mandy Belote, but we are having some problems with this. Let me try it this way. Your line has been unmuted. Ms. Huntsman?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Now, yes.
Okay. Did y'all hear anything that I said before?
No.
No, we
Okay.
did not.
Okay, I will start over. Sorry about that. My name's Mandy Belote, and I am an attorney here in Sumner County. Ms. Huntsman has asked me to assist her with requesting a variance. Just to clarify a couple of things that have been addressed. One, the fence, for the most part, is complete. There are stabilizer bars from where, or stabilizer poles, I guess you would say, on the back side of the fence that that can be removed now. That was just there for when the concrete was being poured to maintain the stability of the fence. So that is one thing that is not finished in regards to the fence. But other than that, the fence portion is complete. First and foremost, I would like to say that yes, those little where you can see those shorter pieces of wood coming up that's propped up against the fence, those are what can be removed now. But Ms. Huntsman did not do anything else to the fence since the letter said to cease and desist all work in regards to the fence. So those could be removed, of course, with y'all's permission. With this picture showing here, just a little bit out of my order that I would like to address, but with this picture that is showing here, you can see that down that property line, there is a lot of vegetation and growth that is in front of the fence. One, if the fence needed to be moved 2 feet over to the property line, some large trees would have to be removed. But knowing now that that sewer line was there, that would not even be an option. But there's a lot of growth on that property line to where the visibility of the unfinished side of the fence is minimum for the property owners. Even so, more so now that spring is here and there's more leaves on the tree. And that is one of our requests, is to be able to leave the fence with the finished side facing the neighborhood, because with the finished side facing the neighborhood, it's truly more aesthetically pleasing to the eye with that side facing the neighborhood versus the finished side facing all of the vegetation and shrubs and everything else to where you could not really see it anyways. Secondly, I would like to state that we have basically a petition signed by multiple residents in the neighborhood, 7 specifically, that are in support of the fence. Additionally, I spoke with business owners at Gene Carmen. They are in support of the fence. Can you guys hear me before I just don't even take a breath?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't talking and you couldn't hear me. Okay. Additionally, the neighbor that is on the other side of Gene Carmen, Mr. Montgomery, that they are in the process of trying to get that zoned commercial. They are in support of the fence as well. And with that being said, and I think Miss Wright is on the line, but I've been told that Miss Wright's not even sure how much longer that she will remain in that residence. So I think that that's something to be in consideration as well. One of the suggestions that was made in the last meeting was to cut down the side of the fence that was on Miss Wright's property line. And our argument to that is that by doing so, we feel that it would be more aesthetically displeasing to cut down the fence for 2 feet for a third of it, and then the remaining fence to be up to the 8 feet, which would meet the commercial standards. That just aesthetically pleasing, that it would be better to be able to leave the fence as it is with the face towards the neighborhood. Ms. Huntsman does have, or did, as her plans originally, have intentions to be able to landscape in front of the fence as well, but since the cease and desist order, she has not done any landscaping, but that is in her intentions to be able to plan that. Additionally, we would like to point out that the fence also promotes safety to the neighborhood. It keeps from anybody from being able to go from the commercial properties and then trespassing into the residential properties. And additionally, it also helps buffer the noise from Nashville Pike, as traffic on it has increased over the last few years. And additionally asking for the variance that it may apply under ordinance 13.04 as a buffer yard, since there are adjacent property uses for the commercial property and potential commercial property and residential property to be able to buffer those two types of uses of property.
All right.
One other point that I would like to address, and that was made in the last meeting, I think Mr. Pereira made the point to maybe for her to deed the 2 feet of property over to the commercial property owners. This would be very costly to do. Not only would Ms. Huntsman's lot have to be resurveyed and resubmitted through the Planning Commission, additionally, Jean Carmen's lot and Mr. Montgomery's lot would as well. And we have gotten some price quotes on that, and they run anywhere between $2,500 and $4,000. And Ms. Huntsman has already invested about $10,000 into the fence to be able to promote safety as well.
All righty. Is that all?
Yes, that is all for right now. Yes, sir.
Jennifer, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You had also said about the city line through there. Could you comment on that again?
Yes, while we were researching the boundaries, it was discovered that there's a Public Utilities has an exclusive easement right there, and from what we can tell, it runs right on the property line between their houses. And if she submitted a fence permit to us, or likewise, if Jean Carmen submitted a fence permit to us, we wouldn't recommend it go right there on the property line because of the easement.
Okay. Josh, do we have anybody online that is opposing this or either for or against it? Anyone else would like to say anything for or against it?
Mr. Chairman, the public hearing was held at last month's BZA meeting. If you'd
Yes.
like to reopen one, you can have a roll call vote to suspend the rules and allow public comment on this item at this agenda or at this BZA meeting.
John, do you think we need to do that or not?
Well, yeah, I don't mind. I just want to make sure everyone gets a chance to be heard, both the applicant and anyone else who has concerns. So I will make a motion to suspend the rules to open public comment.
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're going to open it back to the public again. Is
Roll call vote for that.
this the correct thing to do now?
It needs to be a roll call vote, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
all right.
Chair Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Pereira,
Aye.
Ms. Gregory,
Aye.
3-0, it passes.
Okay. So we'll open it to the public now. Is there anyone online now that would either for or against it?
We have 3 names from the public, and I'm going to call on each of you individually and unmute your lines. First up, we have Kathy Wright. Kathy, your line has been...
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Wright, your line's been unmuted.
I'm at a loss of words. This has been my home for 36 years now. And no, I have no plans to leave, but I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So for me to look at this fence, even with the supporting pieces of wood gone, and you can come in my yard and look and see, I do see it. When the trees are gone and the leaves are gone, I will see much, much more of it. So, like I said, I'm just at a loss of words. I still oppose it being 8 foot that I'm looking at. could have told you there was a sewer line down through there. Because I knew it, because we hooked up right there in the back. That's all I have to say.
All righty, thank you. Josh, who else do you have online?
We have Ms. Kathy Maxwell. Your line's been unmuted.
That's me, Vivian.
Oh, hello, Vivian.
Hey, I'm on Kathy's computer. That's why that comes up. I think Mandy put out the points that we wanted to make. I actually, though, has invested over $15,000 in the fence. I think once the landscaping in front of it and on the side will make it look a whole lot better. I offered Kathy to put in bushes to help cover this other side of the fence, and she said that when we had the conversation that she was okay with whatever, but I didn't need to do the bushes. So I don't know what I need to do, but I think I'm to the point where I really don't want to have to do anything else. I think the fence looks good. We have people in the neighborhood who've all told me they like the fence. They like the fact that it's planked on my side, not on the other side. And I just want to, I'm kind of, that's where I stand. I would like for the fence to be left as is.
All righty. Anyone else, Josh?
We have Richard and Rebecca Dempsey. Your line has been unmuted. Mr. or Mrs. Dempsey, your lines have been unmuted. Mr. Chairman, that appears to be everyone who wish to speak at this meeting.
All righty. Okay, to the board, do you have any questions?
Thing,
Pardon?
this is Kathy Wright, but I was trying to raise my hand, but it wasn't recognized. Can I say one more thing?
Very briefly, please.
Mrs. Huntsman said that she asked me if I wanted bushes planted. That was with the understanding that the fence was going to be lower and it was going to be finished on my side. I didn't want bushes planted. So I'll just throw that out there.
Okay.
But it says the host.
Can I respond, Josh?
Ms. Huntsman, this isn't a Q&A session. The public comments are to be directed at the BZA members directly, and we don't want a lot of back and forth between the neighbors.
Okay.
Mr. McCord, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
As far as city, I guess, rules and regulations and all, where do we stand as far as the city? I know you have recommended to disapprove it. Where do we stand from, what do we, I know you said before the fence was too tall to start with. What is your comments? What are your comments on this?
Well, again, I'll just state that the resolution is for approval, but we do not recommend approval. We believe the fence should be, if they intend to have a fence on the property, it should be installed in compliance with our rules for fencing, and that they should have obtained a permit. So that's still possible. It just means that some modifications, and essentially the fence would have to be turned around and reduced in height. And they would, of course, have to get a permit to do that.
Okay. Did you, Ms. Huntsman, did you understand that? Did you hear that?
I did, and I would like for Mandy to speak for me. We've talked about this, and she knows how I feel about it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, briefly, if you would, please.
Sure. Again, our position just hasn't changed. Ms. Huntsman did not realize that she needed to get a permit, and we understand that that ignorance of it is no excuse. We are simply asking for the variance of this, being that the property is adjacent to 2 commercial properties. If it was on that line, which we know it cannot, it would not be any issue with the height requirements there. It is affecting one property owner, and we've heard from Ms. Wright, and we understand that her position is opposed to it. But again, aesthetically wise, to flip the fence with all of the shrubbery and evergreens and everything else on the back side, to be able to face the neighborhood, which is an open portion, it just would be more aesthetically displeasing to the eye unless if you fence both sides of it. And again, that's why we're asking for the variance to be able to keep the finished side towards the neighborhood, and then also to maintain the height requirements. If you all did direct, which I think was one of the suggestions in the last meeting, if Miss Wright's side of the fence was to come down to the 6-foot height requirement, in my opinion and Ms. Huntsman's opinion, that would be more aesthetically displeasing, going from 6 foot then back up to 8 foot to the commercial lots of where the height requirement would be fine.
All righty. Okay, from the board, do you have any questions, John, or anyone?
I'd like to make a comment if you don't
All
mind.
right, Jeannie.
I pulled up my phone in the last couple of days and just did a really quick Google search of, do I have to have a permit to build a fence in Gallatin, Tennessee? And there were 5 or 6 immediate comments, all pointing to gallatintn.gov, that strictly said you have to have a permit in the city of Gallatin to build a fence. So I don't know who the fence installer is, but your fence installer certainly needs to be contacted and find out why he didn't do any due diligence before $15,000 was ever agreed upon to build this fence.
Thank you, Jeannie. John, do you have any comment?
Well, yes, sir. I mean, Jeannie makes an excellent point, and a lot of this could have been avoided if the right questions had been asked on the front end. I agree that fence contractor did the customer a disservice. So, you know, I'm a stickler for for following these rules to the letter, and by the letter of the rules, staff is correct. They're recommending a denial of this variance, which would result in the fence being taken down because they are following the rules. We looked for an out last time, and I thought maybe we were onto something with deeding a couple of feet of the property over to the adjacent property owners. But I understand that will cost more money than the homeowner wants to put into it. So fortunately, I see an opinion from, I've been advised that we can offer a variance in exchange for things that would mitigate the injurious effects, I guess. In this case, we can say, yes, we can offer you the variance in exchange for doing some landscaping to lower the visibility of that fence to the neighbors in the neighborhood who do object to it. I know that she has 7 or 8 people who have said they support her fence, but there's also several people who object to it. So I've looked at MRO adjacent to residential, and I've seen, if I'm not mistaken, that's an R20 buffer yard. I would suggest that we do 2 things. Allow the fence variance under the condition that Mrs. Wright's, the section adjacent to Mrs. Wright be double-sided. That simply requires putting planks on the backside, and to plant an R20 buffer on the homeowner's side. An R20 buffer consists of 1 deciduous tree every 75 feet, 3 evergreens every 60 feet in triangular spacing, and 2 small deciduous trees every 75 feet. And the reason I'm picking an R20 is I don't want this to be an arbitrary, come up with a landscape plan and we'll let you know if it's okay. That's a standard buffer yard design that's used throughout the city. So I would make a motion that we approve the variance with the condition that the fence along adjacent to Miss Wright be double-sided, and that an R20 buffer yard be planted on the south side of the fence, the homeowner side of the fence.
You making that motion, correct?
Yep.
All righty. Is there a second?
I'll second it just to have any further discussion.
All right, a motion's been made and second, and I guess we just need to vote on that. Is that correct, Mr. McCord?
I think Ms. Gregory said she would second it with discussion, so y'all probably need to discuss.
And again, I go back to the fence installer. If he is licensed, if he is bonded, if he is insured, then he's got a responsibility to fix this on the residential side, to go to City Hall and get a permit and install it correctly. And that should not be at any additional expense by Ms. Huntsman. I feel like the fence contractor has done her a huge disservice, and her beef really needs to be with the fence contractor and not this board. That's my opinion.
Ms. Belote, you have heard John's recommendation. I hope maybe that's something that she can live with, because I think we're fixing to vote.
Right. We did hear that recommendation. One issue that we have is that in the last board meeting, and I know that you can't compare apples to oranges, but in the last board meeting when a duplex got approved on a lot size that that was conditionally too small.
We don't need to get into that now. If you have something to say about this project, fine, but not that project.
Okay. If you will give me just 1 minute to confer with Ms. Huntsman. And if I can make sure we're understanding correctly, the fence height would be approved. It would just be finished fence on the portion of the back side of the fence that would be facing Miss Wright's property.
John?
If I may, Mr. Chair, do you want me to clarify that?
Yeah, go ahead and clarify that if you will.
Yes, because I do appreciate what you said about if you lower the fence to 6 feet along Miss Wright's property, from Ms. Huntsman's side and from the neighborhood, that's going to look pretty inconsistent. If this had been the fence placed on the commercial properties, which we probably would have required of them, were it not for a sewer line, it would have been an 8-foot fence. This is what people would have seen. But anyhow, yes, it would remain 8 feet, but you would have to do the R20 buffer, and you would have to double side the fence along Ms. Wright's property. And if I may, let me read one more thing, if I may, Mr. Chairman. May I have another minute?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
For Mrs. Belote's benefit, in our ordinance, it states that the board may impose such conditions and restrictions upon the premises benefited by a variance as may be necessary to comply with the provisions set out in section 1505.030 to reduce or minimize the injurious effect to such variation upon surrounding property and better carry out the general intent of this ordinance. The board may establish expiration dates as to the condition or as a part of the variances. That's what I'm hanging my hat on in order to vote yes to allow the fence. Otherwise, I'm a stickler for the rule. I would have to vote to deny the variance request, and I think that means the fence would come down. So I'm really trying to find a solution for Ms. Huntsman and the neighbors.
And we appreciate that, Mr. Purrier. Thank you.
Mr. Purrier, could I ask for some clarification on your motion as well? I think it's pretty clear that you intend to allow for, if your motion goes through, that the fence adjacent to Miss Wright's property would have to be, let's call it double-sided. Is that doesn't apply to the remainder of the fence east of Miss Wright's property?
You're correct, but only because no one else really cared.
Okay. And then also clarification for the type 20 buffer yard, does that only apply for Miss Huntsman's property adjacent to Miss Wright's property on the south side of the fence, or the whole length of her property?
No, I'm thinking the whole length of the property, because it is an 8-foot fence, which is in violation. And some of the neighbors do object to that, and they have a right to, they have a right to demand that we follow our ordinance. I'm trying to come up with some kind of mitigation to lessen the impact. And I think an R20 buffer would reduce the visibility of that fence from the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
Is that clear, Mr. McCord?
I believe I understand his motion now.
Okay. All right. Any other question from the board?
Just to clarify, Mr. McCord, yes, it's R20 buffer the entire length of the.
John, would you make the motion again, please, or we can all be clear on it?
Certainly, I'll restate the motion.
All righty.
I make a motion to approve the variance, the applicant's variance request, with the condition that two conditions. Condition number 1 is that the section of fence adjacent to Mrs. Wright be double-sided, that is, planks on both sides. And condition number 2, an R20 type buffer yard be planted along the entire length of the fence on the south side of the fence.
All righty. Do I have a second?
I believe that motion was seconded by Mrs. Gregory, but do we do that again?
I think she seconded it with some.
There's no need to second it. She
Okay.
just requested discussion, and y'all have discussed.
Okay. All right. I guess we need to take a vote then. You don't have a roll call on that, Mary Ann, please?
Ready? Chair Moore,
Aye.
Mr. Ferrier,
Aye.
Ms. Gregory.
No.
That's 2-1. It passes.
All righty. You understand, Miss, what's her, the lawyer, I can't remember her name. What's your name?
Mandy Below.
Yeah, Ms. Below, you understand the motion, and you
I do.
understand that if this is not done, there's one thing left to do, and that's take the fence down. Do you understand that?
We do. We understand that. We do have a few questions. What is the time frame to be able to get it complete, especially knowing now to plant landscaping, at the start of summer is not necessarily the most timely to do so. So just a timeline, and then also the plan, obviously we probably need to get it submitted, the buffer yard plan to get submitted through you all. Is that correct?
Correct. What timeline do we need to do, John? Do we need to ask Mr. McCord about that, or what do we need to do?
Well, in my opinion, the property I don't believe the property is irrigated. I don't know that. Perhaps I should ask that question of the.
It is not irrigated.
Okay. Then right, to get on somebody's wait list, I certainly know our wait list is a month out. So that puts you in the midsummer. I think it would be fine if you wait till fall, but I think in order to satisfy everyone's concerns, I think it's only fair to ask you to place a surety bond up if you want to delay that landscape until fall. And I encourage you to wait till fall, but it would only be fair to place some type of surety in place to assure the neighbors that will be taken care of in the fall.
And would that all be applied through the planning department? Would we be able to contact Jennifer for the steps and procedures for the surety bond? And what is the surety bond now?
And yes, ma'am, and my suggestion, that the reason I went with an R20 type buffer yard is instead of leaving it to be some arbitrary plan, y'all come back with a plan and see if it looks satisfactory, is an R20 is a very standard, it has measurable standards, and you can just work with staff and they'll tell you if it complies with the R20 standards. they can give you that layout. I just
Okay,
read-
and they'll give us the surety bond information as well.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the standard amount for the surety bond?
The amount of the landscaping.
Oh, it is. Okay. I didn't know if there was a base. So it would be, we could get multiple bids to be able to submit for the amount of the landscaping for the surety bond.
Let me retract that. I should not have answered that question. That's a question for staff to answer. I overstepped my.
That's
Mr.
fine.
Puryear, I have the relevant section of the zoning ordinance in the buffer yards pulled up under 1304.110, time of completion of required landscaping. There is an option the zoning administrator can execute under B, which allows a copy of a valid contract to install the landscaping within a 6-month period, or recorded deed restrictions, or a temporary certificate of completion for 6 months.
So as long as she's contracted with a landscaping company to be able to show that the work will be completed within 6 months, then she should be okay.
Josh, you want to answer that?
The zoning administrator is Bill McCord, who's on the call with us today. Bill, would a contract be enough, or would you want a physical surety in place?
I'd want to review the code. I would like to spend a little time reviewing the code as opposed to trying to work out details of
Sure.
permitting at this point.
Okay, so you get in touch with them, Mr. McCord, is that correct?
Yes, Will.
Okay, that's fine.
Mr. Chairman, may I make one more statement?
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to pass on to Mrs. Huntsman and Mrs. Below. I read the fence code just before the meeting started, and there's nothing specifically in the fence code that dictates structural integrity, you know, how well the fence is built. There have been assertions made that the fence is not stable and won't stand up to the you know, high winds, and that's one of the problems with an 8-foot fence. I do not know if that's true or not. I haven't seen the fence. It may be strong as can be. It may be a fortress. But I do recommend that you read that fence ordinance carefully, because if each post is not solidly anchored with concrete and that fence becomes wavy or falls into disrepair, our fence ordinance can demand that you go in and replace or repair the fence. So I encourage you to make sure those posts are filled with concrete, but it's just a good advice to you. That's all. And with that, I have nothing further to add.
I think Ms. Huntsman at the first meeting said that those posts were concreted. Am I right?
That's correct. They are
I
concreted.
thought there was, yes.
They are.
Very good.
Okay.
And hopefully with those last winds that came through a couple weeks ago, if it withstood the Direco, we should be okay.
Well, let me point out, and John, you kind of hit on that. Part of the fence permit review, and since we never had a formal permit, is because of the height of the fence, the building department will be reviewing it. So it will have to comply with the wind load standards for a structure that height. So I don't know what those are, and that someone will have to provide maybe even engineering certification that the fence meets the wind load standard. But
You
that would be
understand?
something specific to the building department.
You understand that, Ms. Below?
We do.
Okay, all right. All right, is any other question for him before we leave here? Any other business to come before the board at this time?
Chair Moore,
Yes, ma'am.
did you approve the minutes? You did, I missed it.
Pardon me, I didn't hear you.
Minutes from the last meeting,
Okay.
you should have gotten those.
You need me to sign it? Is that what you're saying?
No, to approve them. Were they voted on and approved
Well, that's what I said at the first of the meeting. I thought we put that off.
for the minutes? You deferred that?
No, that's not on my list. Do we need to do that?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay. All right, we need to approve the minutes of the last meeting, correct?
Yes, please.
All right. Do I hear a motion for that? Did y'all look over them or anything? And if you looked at them, okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right, Ms. Gregory made a motion. To hear a second.
Yes, I'll second that.
John, second. You want to take a roll call on this?
Yes. Chair Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Pereira,
Aye.
Ms. Gregory.
Yes.
3-0, they passed. Thank
All
you.
right. Is that all, Mary Ann, we need to do on that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right. Anybody got any more announcements? If not, I'm make a motion to adjourn. If no
Mr.
one has
Moore,
anything. Yes, sir.
I'd like to make an announcement to the Board of Zoning Appeals members. If you still need to do your 4 hours of training, MTAS does have a couple of opportunities coming up this summer, and there's also a 4-hour training class that can be conducted online that includes the required 1 hour of legal training. If you're interested, please let us know and we can share those details with the BZA members.
Okay, I need to do that, but I'll get with you, Josh.
Thank you.
All righty. Anything else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All righty, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.